Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan is brought to you by Impact Zone Golf Academy, located at Tiburon Golf Club at the Ritz-Carlton Golf Resort and Impact Zone Golf World Headquarters, both located in Naples, Florida. Welcome to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the only weekly golf instruction podcast that interviews the best golf industry pros from around the globe. Now, here's your host, Advanced Impact Zone Golf Instructor, Bernard Sheridan.
So Frank, welcome to Breaking Par. We're so pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So give us a little bit of history of how you got involved with golf and really what is the main thing that you're working with your clients with.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a late starter. One of my medical doctor friends, he's a dentist, said, look, we need some people for our new country club, and he takes me to the country club. And then until some hours, I got an avid golfer, and I play a lot. And I had a lot of time because my business was really good organized, and so I play 5 times a week and 3 tournaments and so on. And after a while, I get pain in my ankle, in my hip, and my knee, and my arm, and my back. And then I said I quit with golf because this don't fit my body, and therefore my mother-in-law, she is one of shoe industry woman. And she said, think about what is the reason of your pain playing golf. And therefore we made brainstorming, and we figured out that the torsion and shear force are the key parts why there is so much pain. And then I have an education at the university in Tübingen by a doctor in biomechanics. He's called Göner. And he teach me in looking on motions in a structure, in a way where we are able to give the swing motion or the motion a structure. And therefore we checked everything. And the first part, what we have done, we figured out that a lot of stress and torsion is created after the ball impact. And therefore, my mother-in-law and my wife, developed a shoe with a rotational shoe sole. And we measured it at the university in Tübingen, and we figured out that there is a huge stress on it after hitting the ball, up to 750 feet. And with this shoe, we was able to reduce the stress up to 10 feet. And then my mother-in-law said to me, so we developed for you now this turning shoe. Please have a look at the swing biomechanics of if there are also shear force and torsion. And this was the beginning of a long journey. Now more than 12 years, and we learned really quick that we have to educate medical doctors. We have to get medical doctors in our boat, and so we had more than 40 advanced education in the past. They get confirmed by the German government. And so we have a really good quality from experts inside what we are doing. And therefore, I figured out that the traditional method, I met some people in the US, and there we figured out that all the methods or all the philosophies or which are taught have one similar part in the swing, and this part was imbalance. And so what we have done, we we saw that the key point is there are more than 250 variations, and we figured out that the key point is imbalance. And we said, what is a key description of the golf swing? It's a target sport, it's a sport of precision, and it's a complex motion. This means golf has a lot of degrees of freedom. And then we said, when we compare golf with target sports, what is the key difference? And we figured out that all other target sports has a core principle. And so we said how we can create this core principle. What's its advantage and why they use it? And so we figured out that the core principle has a huge part of advantages for performance and also for the health part.
So essentially, then you were saying that balance has a lot to do with what the problem with injuries is due to, am I correct in assuming that? Okay, so that really basically would come down to a player's setup at address. Absolutely. And where they are and how they're in balance at address, and if they're not, then the body is compensating throughout the swing to basically maintain balance, which can then in turn cause specific parts of the body to be stressed, and then maybe the result could be injury.
Yes, you have to know the university in Tübingen. They have really smart. Sorry for this. They have really smart people, and what we have done is she will take the phone. What?
It's real life. So when we're recording this, that's okay. Go ahead and get it.
Wait a second. It's not important.
Okay.
So what we have done is we discussed more than 3 days what is the definition of balance, and we had hard discussions. They give me a hard time in find the right definition of balance. At the end of the day, we figured out that when you measure with pressure plates, this is a sense they have on all corners numbers of, for example, 50-50. Then you have real balance. So we have a definition. Some people say when you don't fall on the floor, this is also balance, but this is not the right definition of balance. Balance means that when you have a pressure plate and you measure with it, you have 50-50. And the key point, when you have imbalance, also this imbalance, then, for example, in the backswing, then your leg muscles are under compression. So the muscles and the joints are not able to work. And therefore, the key question is, how do you speed up your hip? So ESPN made a very good research, and they figured out that, for example, Rory McIlroy speed up the hip only with abdominals. So we know that the big muscles are in the leg and foot, and therefore we have, for example, 300-400 watt there, and we don't use it to speed up the hip. And also the lateral motion, this slows down the hip rotation. Also a wide stance blocks the hip rotation. The question is, why you need a wide stance? Because you have imbalance. When you have a narrow stance and you have imbalance, you fall on the ground. So when you have a core principle like we and like all other sports, you can stand more close, and therefore you can only by this you can speed up your hip rotation because you have not this long distance. And therefore balance, load axis, is a very, very important part of our principle, and therefore we change the timing. For example, we don't start with the hands, we start with the right hip to fix the core point. We start with the right shoulder, and therefore we open new space for the arms. And therefore we fix the ball joint in the left shoulder. And therefore we have a lot of advantages.
So, and this actually reduces injuries, I'm sure, tremendously, for the fact that now biomechanically the body is working more efficiently, it's in balance, and it's probably working more as a unit than independent parts, correct?
Absolutely. The key point of injuries are shear force and torsion, but also friction on the cartilage and heat of the friction, and vibrations from a bad ball impact or so. You have vibrations to your elbow, to your hand, and also this double rotation. This is really bad for the elbow. In our method, we have no double rotation on the left elbow. So, because there are the key point, the fundament of the method is a health management system. So we ask, what are the health advantages, and then we take this this additional or new share part of the swing motion. And the side benefit is that the meaning of free release means there is no body resistance. And when you have no body resistance, you get really quick improvement of club head speed because we have no shear force. Shear force works in this direction. When you have no shear force, or shear force subtract the energy. So because we have one direction, we add the energy to the optimum. And therefore, there are a lot of positive parts when you have a free release swing biomechanic. And therefore, we are so motivated to communicate this. And we love what we do, and it's 100% authentic. And also, the medical doctors, they agree with us that we minimize the risk of injuries. In an unbelievable way. For example, we can say that more than, for example, 90% of all golf injuries would be not existing by using the free release method. And it has also competition advantages. We figured out every part of our swing is described in 3D coordinates. And we have a very smart speaker he's a doctor in psychology in sports. And sorry for this, my wife is not. Today is a busy day, sorry.
Well, busy is a good thing.
Oh, it's a funny time. We have a lot of programs out there, and she's kind of... Okay, but this professor, his name was Eberspecher, and he made research how to learn complex motions.
They're relentless.
How to... Sorry for this.
That's okay.
Was not good. I'm not good organizer this. I thought my wife is here, but she's going out here.
That's okay.
Okay. And Dr. Eberspecher was a professor of sport biomechanics, and he made research how to learn really fast complex motions. And he has a structure that you have to learn it step by step. But therefore you need a clear description of all parts of the motion. And he wrote a book, Top Performance, and I wrote the code for golf, because we wrote the 3D system for golf. And therefore it's possible to learn the swing, to visualize the swing inside the brain, and then the brain is able to give orders to the body. And I say also a word, it's called fusion, and this means the body has to learn the motions. And when we are on this quality, then the learning process is really, we can double it. We can double the learning process. And the students, we make a lot of research, they have to fill out a form, and we ask them, do you know your swing code? Can you describe it in written? We have now about 4,000 forms, and not one of our students, also not instructors, also not speaker of the board of golf organizations, are able to describe their swing in 3D step by step. So the brain is not able to give orders to the body, and therefore there is a lot of accident what they are doing. The TaylorMade made a research and figured out that 76% of all golfers, amateur golfers, make miss shots. And we know from the stats of PGA Tour that about 40% of all tour players have, or 40% of the hits of the driving accuracy and greens regulation are miss shots. And therefore, there's a lot of accident inside the swing biomechanic. And what we are doing with our students when we are starter class, they have to fill out the form. Then we make a little warm-up. Then they have to hit some balls. Then we film them from the front and from the side. And then we make radar measurements. And then we make a swing analysis with them. And then we start from zero, from zero to the end. And we explain them why they have to make, for example, a neutral grip. What is the purpose of it? What is the reaction or when they don't do it? And so for us, it's really important that all our students, and it's not complicated, understand what they are doing, because they have to defend it when they see wrong motions or other motions. Then they can defend it, and this gives them a huge confidence,
Well, then they for sure know that they're doing what is correct for them, as opposed to looking at, and I find that too with a lot of different players, they'll look at how other golfers swing, and then they'll try to emulate that.
Absolutely.
And that may not be correct for them because of their body type, of what their body is capable of doing, biomechanically, the way their skeletal and musculature is set up. You know, we're all human beings, and we're close to the same thing, but that doesn't mean that we're exactly the same. What I see a lot of that in is people trying to emulate Ben Hogan, because he had such an incredible swing. But unless you're biomechanically really just like Ben Hogan, you might be able to take a couple of portions of that and use it, but to do it exactly might be impossible, just because your body physically is not set up to do the motion exactly like that. So when you're doing these evaluations, then you determine what their body is capable of, and what is best for them, and how their setup will work best for them to stop or to prevent injury, and also to help get their body to move the most efficient way that is possible for them. Now they understand what has to happen. Then they start to understand the sequencing of what has to happen. Absolutely. Now they know what they have to do. Now the brain can talk to the body and say, these are the things that has to be done. And then they have to continue to work on that to reinforce it. Now, when they find all these things out, let's say that that I'm a student and I come to you and I get this evaluation and I find all these things, and now I understand what has to happen. But let's say, and what I find with a lot of students is they understand what has to happen, but they kind of don't know how to implement it. They don't know how to make it happen. So is there a series of things that you do that would come next, that would be like drills or exercises or things that they would use to do? Could you give us some examples of that?
Absolutely. The first thing we do, we explain every part of our swing. And this is written. Yeah, we give them a written swing code, and so they have a real good confidence on it. And we explain every part so they understand action and reaction. And then we learn this inside the brain. These are the methods of Mr. Eberspecher. I don't develop it, but Mr. Eberspecher developed a system how to get this system inside the brain. And then the brain is able to give orders to the body. And then we see where are lacks of what they are doing. And then we can train it by doing parts of it. For example, hip rotation. They have a clear direction how far they have to rotate the hip in the backswing. They understand why, for example, 45 degrees. They understand why, not more, not less, because when they rotate it more, they block their muscles. So we can train it, and then we can work on the next part. And so it's really easy to learn it. We recommend to make the first meeting a 3-day education, one-to-one in